Hey, 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 happy Monday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by thegaminggang.com, which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So this is take two. Tonight is Monday, August 23rd, 2021. This is live stream 688. This is your first time joining me. Let me point out that this is very, very casual. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming. We are not performing rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination. Just kicking back, having some fun. So tonight, I am going to be taking a first look and paging through Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, Power Behind the Throne. This is Chapter 3 of the Enemy Within Director's Cut. And we're also going to take a peek at the companion book. So we're going to tackle both of these tonight. We're going to do a well, I guess we won't say quick, but we are going to do a page through and take a peek. Do want to point out that the way the show works, the first half or so, usually a little more than the first half, is the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then we jump on into a look at a tabletop game. So if you are watching live, kick back, relax. We will jump into the Cubicle 7 entertainment goodness in just a bit. If you are watching after the fact, by all means, if you don't want to hang out and check out the news, just jump ahead. There are timestamps within. So also should mention, if you like this video, by all means, give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the dispatch streams live right here on YouTube, it'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my recent review of Starfinder, Horizons of the Vast, Planetfall from Paizo Inc. So that is my most recent review. Of course, this is a live stream, so that also means that chat is available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay, but I do my best to pay attention to chat. So if you want to say howdy, or maybe you get a question, a comment, by all means, please chime in. I will do my best to respond. So first out on our second take tonight is the Madman. Melwinius from York is with us as well. I know Sarah D and her husband were watching. I'm not sure if they've moved over to the other chat. See, that's what throws things off. When I have to restart the stream again, suddenly it's an all-new web address, and the chat changes, and can I tell you, the video froze. It froze up. What am I going to do? Just sit here and be like, yeah, so we're talking about this game over here, and yeah, not very good ventriloquist, I should say. Anyway, so going to jump on in just a moment. First of all, I do want to mention, I went to a wedding on Saturday. It was my cousin's daughter, which also means she's a cousin. But I hung out, and I was hanging out with my other cousin, Denise, and her husband, Phil. It's kind of funny. My cousin, Denise, just can't get over the fact that I've got, this channel and people watch, and there's thousands of people who subscribe. And it was very funny. So she was she was asking, so are you going to mention the wedding on your show? And I was like, people don't care about that. They barely care that I had triple bypass surgery. They don't care about me going to a wedding. So just as a giggle, saying hello to my cousin Denise and her husband Phil, in case they decide to pop in and check this out. So yes, Sarah D says she is lurking. She's lurking. So Zach McKinney is joining us in chat. 245 Trioxin is with us as well. So 245 Trioxin says the title says first look at the alien RPG Colonial Marines. Let's take a quick look. It shouldn't be showing that. Yeah, that's weird because that made it jump back. Because I had it set up as power behind the throne. I don't know. Like I said, once the stream gets messed up, it'll screw things up. In fact, it used to be if the stream cut out, the next time I tried to stream, not that day, but the next time, I would have to go in and pull the little like password to stream because it would change it. And I learned that because I started some streams that there was nobody. They were like in chat saying, where's Jeff? What's going on? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm doing a stream. I'm live right now. I see you chatting. Zoinks. All right, let's jump on into the news because I've got a good eclectic mix of news tonight. First off, there's a new board game that's going to be arriving this fall from Wyrd Games. Here's the deets on Vagrant Song. You train hop aboard the Silver Ferryman, chasing a dream or running from the past. What you find is a welcome in hand, white gloves, stretched skin, and a fiddle player in the distance playing a tune that's awfully inviting. Makes you never want to leave. In Vagrant Song, a cooperative and story-driven boss battler, you will take on the role of a vagrant trapped on a supernatural ghost train. Face off against ghosts lingering on the train, called Haints. Adjust your playstyle with skills and junk acquired along the way, and uncover the secrets of the Silver Ferryman in this spooky and challenging adventure. Each of the 20-plus scenarios in Vagrant Song's campaign, players will take turns spending their 3 coins to take actions. 3 coins in the fountain. No, they're not in any fountain. You can move around the train. You can investigate the unknown, and you can rummage for items that might help you get out of a tight spot. Additionally, players can spend their coins on more exclusive actions to remind a Haint of their lost humanity, all in the hopes of freeing the spirit from the ghost train's bone-chilling grip and winning the scenario in the process. But be careful, each Haint has their own bag of tricks and gameplay mechanics. They'll stop at nothing to make sure that the players lose all of their humanity and stay aboard forever. After each scenario, players will have a moment to rest, allowing them the opportunity to change out their skill and junk cards, heal their vagrant, and prepare for their next encounter aboard the Silver Ferryman. Vagrant Song is for 2 to 4 players, ages 14 and up. Plays in around 45 minutes to 2 hours. Of course, that's going to depend on the number of players and the scenario, no doubt. It's going to carry an MSRP of $75 when it arrives in October. Well, gotta say, few things immediately struck me about this game. First off, it has a very, wasn't it Max Fleischman? Wasn't it his studio that did Betty Boop? This has a very Betty Boop kind of vibe to it, art style wise. Or those of you who enjoy video games, Cuphead. Has a very Cuphead look. Has a very 30s cartoon look, which I think looks awesome. I'm like, man, this looks very cool. But I don't think there's miniatures in this. It looks like there's standees. Now, I can't tell for sure. And it does indicate on the image that it's not final artwork or final components. So I don't know. See, this is the image that if you look closely, you can tell these are not miniatures, they're standees. It's possible they're plastic standees with stickers on them, something like that. But yeah, this looks kind of interesting. And it's a departure for Wyrd because Wyrd does Malifaux. And they've got their own kind of look to the Malifaux figures. This is a completely different art style. So could be kind of interesting to check out. I don't know if Wyrd is going to be at Gen Con this year. There's some strange stuff going on with Gen Con we'll talk about after the news. Got a few things we're going to tackle tonight before we jump into our first look at Power Behind the Throne. But I wouldn't mind trying to see, get a closer look at this if it's available. Because a lot of times at Gen Con, the games that are coming out later in the year are actually available there first. All right, moving right along. There is a board game that I know a lot of people were very curious about, very interested in. That's right. Arriving this fall is the Rocketeer Fate of the Future from Prospero Hall and Funko Games. Here's what I know. Trouble is brewing high above the City of Angels. The mysterious Rocketeer, who can blast through the skies with an ingenious jetpack, must stop a sinister plot. Hollywood actor Neville Sinclair is scheming to steal the rocket's blueprints. This breakthrough of modern engineering could revolutionize the future of flight, but in Sinclair's hands, it could fuel the dark future of warfare. Play as the heroes or the villains in this action-packed strategy game for 2 players. Whether for good or evil, you will determine the fate of the future. During their turn, players pick one of their characters to take the turn and may play cards from your hand that match that character's symbol. Card actions are move, tussle, combat, gain grit, raise rocket token. I have no idea. It's something that the heroes can do. Or recruit a soldier, which is something the villains can do. Players alternate characters until all 6, 3 on each side, have gone and are exhausted. Then players gain rewards based on control of the locations and then prepare for a new round. The end of the game happens when the Luxembourg Zeppelin reaches LA. The final round is played and then the game is over. The Rocketeer Fate of the Future is for 2 players, ages 12 and up, plays in around 45 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $24.99 when it arrives on September 16th. I believe this will be a release at Gen Con for Funko. I know we are going to have some problems with game releases. We're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. But I do not believe that Funko will have any issues whatsoever with releasing this at Gen Con because I do believe that their board games are being produced here in the U.S. I think. Or they planned ahead, one of the two. But I have heard good things. I would be curious to check this out. I find it interesting that Funko has actually released stuff that's not just their, pop vinyl, the little like Funkoverse games. They've actually been doing a lot of games which are licensed to different film properties. And we've got Fast and the Furious, The Goonies, which I have tried to find at Target because it's a Target exclusive. They never have it, even though they show that it's in stock on their website for that location. It's never there. So we've had a few. We've had a few that have popped up. So kind of curious. Kind of curious about this. And as Zach points out, very cool art style. Yes, I definitely like the artwork on these cards as well. First couple of games we've looked at have very distinct art styles. Definitely dig that. Nicholas Stanishek is with us in chat. Good to see you, Nicholas. Glad to see you join us. So we got a few people popping in after our ill-fated first attempt at the stream. Womp, 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 womp. All right, let's move on to some role-playing game news, because if you've ever had an interest in the Mutant Chronicles role-playing game from Modiphius Entertainment, then you're definitely going to want to check out the current Humble Bundle. And I've got the scoop. Drive back the Dark Legion in Mutant Chronicles, Modiphius's tabletop role-playing game. Ready to pick a tabletop fight with the Dark Legion? Want to know what lies beyond the edge of our solar system? What does our world look like millennia into the future? Check out the new bundle packaged with Modiphius's Mutant Chronicles ebooks, PDFs, and 3D print files. That's right, there are some 3D print files for minis. You get titles such as the 3rd edition core rulebook, the Savage Worlds edition, as well as the 2D20 edition. You get the Printed Heroes collection and Mutant Chronicles Dark Legion campaign. Plus, your purchase is going to help support the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. The solar system is the solar system is a roaring maelstrom of death and war. The inner planets have been swept away by the violent onslaught of the Dark Legion's monstrous hordes and undead soldiers in the enormous cities of the distant future. Heretics devoted to the destruction of mankind stalk the dark backstreets and gloomy alleys, spreading their teachings of greed, jealousy, and war. Mutant Chronicles takes you on a full-throttle diesel punk ride through a solar system beset by corporate intrigue and the invasion of the Dark Legion. With technology failing due to the insidious effects of the dark symmetry, mankind must fight back against the Dark Legion hordes whilst dealing with infighting and conspiracy. Now, in this 3rd edition of the definitive techno-fantasy role-playing game, you can play during the early days of the dark symmetry through to the brutal corporate wars. Investigate foul cults as technology turns against mankind, or fight the armies of the Dark Legion as they pour forth from citadels across the colonies that battle for humanity's future. You can climb aboard for a single solitary $1 with this bundle, and that will include the core rulebook. Important to keep in mind, sometimes we see these bundles and they're not giving you the core rules at the lowest amount. But you can get on board for $1. You can score all 30 PDFs, which also include those 3D print files for miniatures, for $18. You heard me right. It's less than $1 per PDF. You can score these savings through September 1st, and this is an awesome deal. Very, very nice. Gotta like it. Gotta like it. I've always had a bit of an interest in checking out Mutant Chronicles. It's kind of funny because I always kind of mix up Mutant Chronicles and Mutant Year Zero. So, and I know they are absolutely completely different games. I think Mutant Chronicles is more grimdark than Mutant Year Zero. I think Mutant Year Zero has, I don't want to say it's tongue in cheek or anything like that. I think it's a little bit lighter in tone, but there's a lot in Mutant Chronicles. As far as, I want to say, for the $30, there's like 3 or 4 campaign books. So pretty sweet. A very cool deal. And you still have some time. You can score those awesome savings through September 1st. Moving right along, there is a new supplement for the Traveler role-playing game that's available from Mongoose Publishing. I've got the Skinny on 2300 AD. 300 years from now, humanity is claiming worlds far from Earth. Despite nearly destroying itself in the Twilight War, despite all the wars since, humanity has held on and kept its dream alive. 2300 AD is the story of that dream as humanity reaches for the stars. This is a richly developed hard science fiction universe with ships spinning against the night as they're propelled by the stutter warp drive, a true violation of physics as we know it now. Airships, helicopters, and hovercraft are common sights on Worlds of the Frontier, where space planes and rockets carry explorers and traders to orbit, and from there, starships take them across the gulf of space to the colonies. Campaigns in 2300 AD range from interstellar exploration and war on the far frontier, building new colonies on hostile worlds, discovering and understanding ancient species, and engaging in espionage and crime in the gritty megacities of the core worlds. This set contains Book 1, Characters and Equipment, everything you need to create explorers, company agents, military personnel, merchants, and other inhabitants of 2300 AD. This book also contains a comprehensive equipment guide, personal augmentations, and a selection of robots and drones commonly used in space and on colony worlds. There's also Book 2, The Worlds of 2300 AD, an exploration of the universe of 2300 AD from the core worlds to the furthest colonies. You'll learn about the aliens and animals that inhabit them, how humanity is adapted to living on their surfaces, and the most hostile of environmental threats to be found beyond the Earth. Finally, there is Book 3, Vehicles and Spacecraft, which is a full guide to operating and fighting in spacecraft and vehicles, from humble dirt bikes to powerful space-going frigates. There's also a glimpse at the alien spacecraft that have been encountered thus far by humanity. Finishes up with a star chart of known space, a massive poster map depicting every star system known to humanity, and the routes starships take to each. Do want to point out, this does require the Traveler Core Rulebook. This is not a standalone rule system. Traveler 2300 AD is available as a box set for $99.99, or you can grab the 332-page PDF from DriveThruRPG for $49.99. Cool to see 2300 AD return with a new edition, which coincides with the Mongoose Traveler's second edition. I know there are so many travelers out there, people get a little confused. Very nice, looks very good. Got to point out, though, a bit pricey. It's a bit pricey, and I say it all the time whenever we talk about Mongoose Publishing releases. Even when I did my review for the Traveler's Starter Set, the box set, which in essence was the core rulebook, it was not like some dummied down starter set. It was the core rulebook broken up into two books. But once again, that was like $80, if I remember correctly, somewhere around there. So very cool to see 2300 AD make its appearance. And interestingly enough, there's mention of the Twilight War, which the new edition of Twilight 2000 is coming out from Free League Publishing. That is the Twilight War that they're talking about. Kind of funny. So, did want to share that with you. It is now out. It is actually, I believe, the top seller right now over at DriveThruRPG. Finally, Bandit Camp has released a new supplement for their Wicked Ones role-playing game. Here's the latest on Wicked Ones: War for the Overworld. Even for those who are not familiar with the War for the Overworld video game, this campaign guide has a lot to offer, including new rules, a map, and more. Also, as with Wicked Ones Deluxe Edition, all graphics in the book have been converted to high-quality tokens and figures for virtual tabletop play and do-it-yourself printing. The campaign itself and the factions are well described within the book, which makes for great inspiration even without experience playing WFTO. This includes a new sandbox map, Mount Desmos, with a detailed scenario focusing on underground raids before busting forth into the overworld. There's underlords, powerful spirits from the ether, leading your dungeon. They're a single character shared by the entire group and can cast spells and compel their minions toward action. Their abilities replace the core function of a dungeon. A dungeon core at the center of your dungeon. Located on the first level, it replaces the sanctum and second level of the dungeon. Defend it well, because if it fails, your underlord is banished from the realm. There's shrines and portals littering the underworld, discovered while tunneling to the edges of the map to go on raids. There's 12 beasts from War for the Overworld to serve your dungeon as creatures and a new way to bring them along on raids when you think it's necessary. There's 3 powerful titans that can be summoned by acquiring the Kinos artifact and finishing a tier 3 ritual. Each titan also has its own unique bonuses. There's 10 unit archetypes and new primal abilities to build WFTO style PCs with. 15 heroes of the Empire, adventurers strongly connected to the factions within and around Mount Desmos. Active participation in dungeon defense by the PCs, who make a placement roll as an invasion occurs, just like their minions do. Once you become aware of the invasion, you're free to move about the dungeon, making invasions much more chaotic and dynamic. And finally, there's the Dungeoneer's Guide to the Underworld, an in-world field guide for the evil and good units in War for the Overworld, written by Wyrd Games. This was previously available for those who bought the Underlord edition of the game, but it's been made available for inclusion with this supplement to give GMs and players way more background information on the denizens of Karos. This 81-page PDF is available at DriveThruRPG for $10. Do want to point out, all proceeds from this supplement will be donated to the Child's Play charity. Very nice. That is why I'm sharing this information. Although, I gotta admit, I did share a news piece for Wicked Ones when it came out. It's essentially a role-playing game where the players are playing the villains. They're kind of like the old PC game Dungeon Master. So, I thought that was very cool. And yes, Cesar Perez has joined us in chat mentioning that they like the art style. Yeah, it looks very nice. Looks very, very cool. All right, so that is it for the news tonight. As I mentioned for the last 2 news pieces, if you're going to go visit DriveThruRPG, keep in mind the gaming gang, thus the Dispatch, are affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're heading over to, say, DriveThruRPG, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a little portion of that sale. And all those little portions add up. All those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do help keep the gaming gang around. And yes, I just noticed the little hiccup in colors on the video feed here. Yeah. My G85 better not be messing up. Haven't had it that long. Although I have to admit, I'm always bouncing around the idea of getting a different camera and actually using the G85 as the top-down shot again and picking up maybe an Olympus, because you can use the same lenses on both, usually. So, both the Panasonic and the Olympus. Anyway, that's it for the news tonight. Sweet. So once again, do want to point out, we are going to be taking a look at Power Behind the Throne, as well as the Power Behind the Throne Companion for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay in just a few moments. But a few things I wanted to tackle first. Number one, I know there are people who are kind of curious what's going on with this shipping dilemma And it's only getting worse. And that is one of the reasons why I had mentioned that there are companies that are going to be at Gen Con who are a bit concerned that they may not actually have anything to sell. So it's like, uh-oh. Plus, it's kind of odd. I had reached out to Arc Dream Publishing to possibly do an interview with either Shane or Dennis, and they're not going. Yet they're indicated as exhibitors on the exhibitor page. So I'm not sure who's canceling. And I got to be honest though, I don't think Arc Dream was planning on going for a long time, because I know they moved from the U.S. to Canada. So I don't know, but someone affiliated with a game company that will not be named ever again by me. As I see Kevin Smith is with us. He's been in chat for a little bit. Did not have an opportunity to say hello. I'll say hello to Kevin now. Anyway, someone affiliated with this tabletop gaming company said that this shipping dilemma is an extinction level event for tabletop gaming. That is a huge exaggeration. Now, I'm not saying that this dilemma is not going to put some smaller companies out of business, because I think it's going to. I really do think it's going to, because you also have to keep in mind there's a lot of these companies out there who, first of all, their product was delayed being made in China, and now there aren't enough shipping containers, and certain entities like Amazon and Walmart are reserving a lot of these ships for their stuff, their merchandise. So I had heard that there were companies that the cost of shipping has jumped 4 to 5 times. So as an example, I want to say, I think it was Shane Ivey from Arc Dream had tweeted that about a year ago, a little more than a year ago, they had a delivery of books, obviously enough, and their shipping cost $2,000. And now the same size shipment is going to cost them $8,000. I was like, holy cow. So 245 Trioxin mentions that they're worried about the Kickstarters they backed. Yes, you should be worried. You should be worried. I will mention that you're going to see a lot of this cost handed over to the gamer, to the consumer. I mean, it's got to be done. But, and I know some people out there are like, well, just goes to show they should have been making their games in the U.S. It's kind of like, well, yeah, but the thing is, it's still more expensive to have games produced here in the U.S. Books are a little different. When we're talking about board games, it is still more expensive to have board games produced in the U.S. Not by much. So I would actually like to see more games being produced here. But also I've heard from some companies, because this has been a discussion I've had with folks in the industry. I've also heard that a lot of manufacturers here, they're not tooled to be able to make board games, and they do not want to invest in that kind of machinery to make board games. So I'm like, okay. Huh. So Kevin says they agree that this is an exaggeration, that it's an extinction level event. But it is challenging for companies like, say, Frog God Games, they mentioned, because they have a lot of stuff that's printed in China. Oh, yeah. Companies like Hasbro, So, of course, that's trickled down into like Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering. They shouldn't have too many concerns. Of course, I'm sure their shipping costs have increased as well, but they've got that power of Hasbro behind them, or as people like to refer to them as Hasborg. So there is that. Kringle's with us tonight. Good to see you, Kringle. So Kevin mentions, yeah, shipping on the Kickstarters is multiplied, and I shudder to think what international shipping looks like. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Kringle says just use printing companies where you want to sell. No longer a good idea to shop just for the cheapest. Yeah, that is very true. Plus, this is just me. I have not produced board games or role playing games, right? I would think your turnaround when you're actually going to have something manufactured in the same country as you are, I would think your turnaround is going to be so much faster. Because remember, you gotta have prototypes. So usually you have the proofs sent to you, and a lot of times you'll get, depending on the company. There we go with that little kind of thing with the video. I think it's my cable. I'm gonna have to mess around, double check the cable, make sure no kitty is chewed on it. That's like the second time we've seen that little hiccup. But anyway, I was going to say that yeah, you get like 3 copies of the game for proofs, and that's what a lot of times you'll see some. Well, used to be you'd see some of the big reviewers get those copies once they were approved by the publisher, and you figure that's still got to come from China if it's made in China. So Kringle says, "Oh, I saw it. It was all messed up. The video thing." Yeah, well, the thing was, I actually had disconnected my G85 and I had brought it with me to the wedding that I went to on Saturday because I've been to a couple of weddings over the years that there were major problems with the photographer. One didn't show up, and then one, actually, if I remember right, they either dropped their camera and broke the lens that they had, or they dropped the camera and broke the camera. And of course, then, nobody had cameras. They were like, what? But yeah, so I had brought it with, just in case of an emergency, and then hooked it all back up. So something must be a little loose. And I will have to dive on into that. Although, hey, at least, knock on wood, the video has not frozen like it did the first time we started to rock out. All right. Anyway, so wanted to talk about that. Something else I want to quickly touch on. I don't want to get into a whole lot about this, but I have had a few people email asking what my opinion was on the accusations against the owner of Broken Token. And if you are not familiar with the situation, an employee of Broken Token has accused the owner of some pretty nefarious things. So once again, it's just secondhand information that I've stumbled across. As far as I'm concerned, I've never had any sort of relationship with Broken Token. Just because their stuff just, I'm not into like organizers for board games and things like that. That's just not my thing. So I've never really reached out to them or talked to the company. But I gotta say, that's messed up. That is messed up. And I really hate seeing this stuff. And we see it in the hobby. There's no getting around it. I mean, it's something that's everywhere. There's no getting away from it. And one of the things that I hate seeing is I hate seeing women who find themselves placed in a situation where they feel so helpless that they can't escape, that they feel that they've got to sit there and be like, I have to put myself through this because I have no other options. I hate when I see that. And, it's these scumbags. Well, I was going to say something else, but I don't want. I'm trying to keep the language, PG tonight. But yeah, I mean, just sorry to see that. Really sorry to see that. But I've never had any sort of relationship with Broken Token. So if I did, I'd be like, forget it. I'm not. So the Madman says they saw that 3 game companies have ended their relationship with them. It's more than that. Last I heard, it's around 10. And I guess there's some other companies that are kind of bouncing it around. The Madman says Cephalofair Games has ended their relationship. See, now that was one that I had heard was trying to decide what they were going to do. So so here's the thing. I'll wrap this up and then we'll keep moving because, damn it did it again. I'm gonna see. The thing is, I don't know if it's the camera or if it's the little thing that I have to plug the camera into, the video capture that gets plugged into the computer, or if it's the software, OBS Studio, that's doing that. I don't know. But that's kind of irritating because we had that freezing of the video earlier, and that never happens. But I noticed lately it'll happen. But thankfully, I shut down the program, restart the program, then it was okay. Tonight was different. It did do that. Nicholas goes, whoa, screen went blue again. So Sarah says, it's just a Monday. Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, what I was going to say is the thing that kind of freaks me out is, and I'm not naming anybody's names or anything like that, but the owner of Broken Token in their rebuttal said, oh, they're not going to be surprised if there's more accusations made against them. All right. So right there, that tells me something. And it tells me something that tain't good. So Madman says Cephalofair did decide to end their relationship. They got an email because the Madman had backed Frosthaven. Cool. Sarah says, mine started with my alarm not going off and exploding blueberry, and it went downhill from there. All righty. So, just want to toss it out there. Like I said, I have no relationship with Broken Token. Just never wasn't anything that, interested me. It's like, you didn't see me covering stuff like Geek Chic's tables. It's just, whatever. Game Tabletoppers is another company. I mean, their stuff looks kind of cool, but it's like, it's not something I'm like, oh, yeah, I got to talk to these guys. All right. So, so Sarah has not had a good Monday. That stinks. So Nicholas says, we need to cancel the toxic people in the gaming world for sure. But I'm also a big believer in innocent until proven guilty. I agree. I agree with you as well. I know how men are because I am a man. Thankfully, I don't act like some of these toxic people, but I have seen this kind of stuff, not necessarily in our hobby, but I have seen it in the workplace and things like that. So Nicholas says blue screen again. See, I didn't see it that time. I don't know. Kind of weird. I don't want to do anything because I don't want to actually lock up the video again and then we're stuck. So I'm not going to play around with anything, but it's probably something. So, like I said, it's something, a cable's not plugged in all the way or something. So Crinkle says, where there's smoke, there's often fire, but sometimes the fire is 3 blocks away. But yes, and I completely agree. Innocent until proven guilty. That's why I'm not naming anybody's names, not floating anything out there. All right, so in case you were tuning in because you wanted to check out Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Power Behind the Throne, which is from Cubicle 7 Entertainment, written by Dave Allen, Graham Davis, and Padraig Murphy. I honestly do not know how to pronounce that first name. First of all, we're going to be looking at the 158-page hardcover. It's available for $39.99, or you can grab the PDF over at Drive-Thru RPG for $19.99. Let's swing on over to the other camera because here we've got Power Behind the Throne. This is part 3 of the Enemy Within campaign. This is the director's cut. Do want to mention a couple of things. First off, we're not going to look at every page. And I'm going to stay up here, picture in picture. So I'm going to cut off a little bit of the page here. So something else I should mention is somebody was commenting on my first look video at Paleo Mythic from Osprey Games. And that's from a while back. That's like a year and a half ago or something. And they were, the video says it's a first look. There's nothing that ever says it's a review. And they're like, oh, you know, maybe you should read the book before like talking about it. So I replied, well, but it's not a review. It's a first look. It's a page through. So it's like, what? Then he keeps, yeah, it's just, it's totally asinine. It's another one of these yahoos, which unfortunately we have in this hobby, who are know-it-alls. They think they know everything. And just because they don't understand something, well, then you need to change it. It's like, sorry. It's like, if you're an idiot, that's your problem. Travis Rose is with us in chat as well. So just read a little bit of what's on the back here. Not everything, but Power Behind the Throne is the 3rd volume of the revised and updated director's cut of The Enemy Within, one of the most highly regarded role-playing campaigns ever written. Power Behind the Throne carries on from where Death on the Reich left off, taking your unlikely heroes into the halls of power of Middenheim, the chosen city of Ulrich. Amid the distraction and revelry of the city's carnival, some have decided that the appointed time has come at last. All right, let's jump on into this. Look at that. Right off the bat, we got a cool map of Middenheim, the fortress city of Ulrich. Very cool. I have to say that I really like Death on the Reich. I think Death on the Reich is a really, really interesting chapter of The Enemy Within. I will have a review of both the Power Behind the Throne as well as the Power Behind the Throne Companion pretty quickly because I have finished reading this. I'm almost done with the companion book. So Caesar says, yep, first look, not a review, as it should be. Yeah, well, this guy was like, oh, I don't know what kind of idiot decides, you know, they're going to just show what the book is. And it's like, he's like, I don't know who would want to watch that. Of course, in that video's had like, I don't know, 2,500 views. And it's sort of like, a lot of people want to see this stuff because they want an idea if they should purchase it or not. Is this look like, oh, this could be interesting? A lot of people don't necessarily need a review to make an RPG purchase. It's just how it works. All right, so we got a breakdown of the chapters. So we have 7 chapters here. As far as I understand, and one thing I have to point out, I did not read The Enemy Within when it came out. I had heard about it. I wasn't overly familiar with it, but I do know from the first edition that this adventure is really, really well regarded. For many people, this is their favorite adventure for The Enemy Within. All right, just kind of take a look here. So basically, we have another road journey as the players are going to be making their way to Midnheim. And if you are not overly familiar with The Enemy Within, I should mention that one of the aspects that I like about this campaign is there's like kind of a thread that runs through it where it's like the player characters find themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time quite a bit. And there is a sense of humor to this as well. I mean, there's some like really gross out stuff, especially Death on the Reich once the player characters have made it to the castle. Trying to stay kind of spoiler free. But there are also some there's some laugh out loud stuff in here as well. And there's some set pieces that, if ran correctly, should be very, very memorable throughout this campaign. So player characters are going to find themselves in Midnheim. So one of the first things I'm going to mention is that, to me, it seemed like there's more color in this book than in the first two chapters. Now, we have the NPC stat block images are still black and white. But it was kind of funny. I had noticed that, like, for an example here, right? We've got a lot of artwork, all color. And to me, it seems like there's more artwork in this book than in the first two chapters. So Caesar says, looks like we're finally getting the portraits in color. No, they're actually black and white, like so, or gray. I guess we should say they're grayscale is what they are. And I know there are a lot of people who grew up with first edition, or I guess second edition, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and they like the fact that there's a lot of black and white or grayscale artwork. And it's like, okay, it's all right. I mean, it started off and I was kind of like, yeah, I would like to see all of the artwork in color. And then I was kind of like, yeah, okay, it's growing on me. So one of the big aspects of this adventure is the carnival that the baddies are using to kind of screen their nefarious plans. Now, the next chapter is pretty interesting as well. The Horned Rat, because we finally get, well, I was just about to start talking about the Skaven, because they play a big role in this campaign. So something that all of these directors' cuts include is changes to the adventure, which I definitely like, because, and it's a section here. It usually says, there you go, for Grognards or Grognards. Talking about, well, this is a section of the adventure that people who've played this before are going to remember. Now, I got to be honest. If I had run a big, long campaign like this, I don't think I'd be running it again for the same players, even if it was decades later. But there are some changes that are made, and these little side boxes will kind of discuss options that the game master can use to kind of throw players off the scent or completely change up the dynamics of things going on in the adventure. Like, oh, well, the traitor is so-and-so. Well, no, you can change it up and make the traitor this person, this NPC, or an NPC that's villainous in the actual original adventure actually turns out in the Grognard box that you can actually make them an ally of the players, thus leading your players who have gone through the campaign before into wondering, okay, so are they going to turn traitor on us? So Travis says, wow, I love the details in the stat blocks. This is kind of a crunchy role-playing game, at least in my opinion. I got to be honest, I do like the mechanics of 4th edition Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, but I don't know if I would run it. But there's some things that I really like. I do like the combat, and I do like the combat because it is pretty lethal, and I like that. I like the fact that the player characters can get taken out in 1 or 2 shots if it's a critical hit and things like that. But then again, they can also take down some of the most powerful NPCs in the same way if they get a critical hit. But I have to say, if I were running Enemy Within, I would maybe use a retro clone, an OSR retro clone to run it. Because I had to be honest, it wouldn't be all that difficult to port over. Because usually the weapon skill, ballistic skills, those kind of give you an idea of the level, I guess we would say, of the various characters. So here we see that these NPC portraits are still in black and white. But we got all the important NPCs all located at the back of the book. Ladies at court. I like the artwork. I like the artwork quite a lot. There's one artist, and I don't mean to pick on them, and I'm not going to actually say who it is, but there's an artist that you'll see does a lot of covers for Call of Cthulhu, does a lot of interior art as well for Call of Cthulhu. He's done some for Cubicle 7 as well. I don't care for his style. I don't care for the style of, because it's always like people. Just don't care for it. And I got to be honest, I don't think he's an artist on this book. And there are a lot of artists as well. So that's why, yeah, I see he's there. I see his name. But I mean, some people really like his art. It's just the style. I just don't care for it. All right. So look at this. So we get this kind of cool chart that shows us the relationships in court. The Court of Middenheim. Get the handout here as well. There is also the source book for Middenheim, which came out before this. It's Middenheim City of the White Wolf. So it gives you even more information for chapter 3. All right, there you go. So that is Power Behind the Throne. Part 3 of the Enemy Within campaign, the director's cut. Russell Higgins has joined us in chat. Good to see you, Russell. All right, so next, let's take a quick peek at the companion. Now, one thing that I have people ask me about is how essential, as I say, essential's right there. How essential is a companion book to the various different chapters? And one thing that I point out, especially and I mentioned it in the review for chapter 2, Death on the Reich, there were some things that I really liked from the original adventure that were split off into the companion. So the companion has some additional mechanics. They usually have some new rules. They also have new adventures. They have new NPCs. There is a background storyline that has also been added to the companions that started with Death on the Reich. It was not in the first book, but they did introduce it in Death on the Reich. So there's like a background, or I should say, there's a third tier storyline that you could run in the background of the campaign, which is fairly interesting as well. All right, so I like the cover artwork to that. Very nice. It's got a lot of pop. All right, let's jump on in. So we get our map of Middenheim. Again, this looks like the same map as we saw with Power Behind the Throne. So this is written by Dave Allen, Jim Bombra, Paul Cockburn, Graham Davis, Phil Gallagher, Andy Law, Sean Masterson, Patrick Murphy, Derek Norton, Anthony Reagan, Carl Sargent, Philip Wells, and Simon Wiseman. So a lot of writers credited with this book. Now, this is a 127-page hardcover. It's available for $34.99 as opposed to Power Behind the Throne was $39.99. You can also get the PDF over at DriveThruRPG for $17.99. I am going to mention that I will be giving away PDFs of both Power Behind the Throne as well as the companion, and I will talk about those in the reviews. So you'll be able to, if you'd like, you can check out the reviews and be able to get your hands on a copy in PDF. So as I mentioned, we'll have some, for an example, we're going to have little sections that have adventure hooks. We've got the little Grognard box again, talking about, okay, well, so if you want to change things up, do this. So we're going to have some additional adventures as well, some additional set pieces. So we got the Graf's Garden Party. One aspect of the Enemy Within campaign, and for the most part, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay overall, there are a lot of adventures that have specific timing elements to them. So some of the adventures, you as the game master, you really need to have a good understanding of what's going on when and why, which is unlike a lot of other role-playing games out there. But some of the adventures are really wild as well, because if you present them correctly, it's kind of funny. It's almost like a Marx Brothers movie with all the crazy goings on with the different factions, different people. So we have cameo adventures. So these are short adventures or encounters that can be utilized during this chapter of the campaign. The Jade Scepter, a Game Master's Guide. So this is some information about the Cultists of Slaanesh. There you go. Some lore as well. Some of the spells. Got the Cult of Ulrich. So another aspect of the companions is a lot more background information about the various factions or the location. So we have Miracles of Faith. So we have some VIPs as well. So one aspect you're going to notice that in this chapter, you're going to see, you saw it in the adventure itself, and now you see with the NPCs as well here, is a lot of detail about their connections and what they think of other NPCs, how they interconnect because a lot of these characters are members of the court or hangers on as well in Middengard. Middenheim. Why did I say Middengard? So we've got quite a few NPCs. We've got a return of some characters from previous chapters as well. So once again, now we're going to go move back into some additional adventures, but these are quite a bit more in depth than the adventures that we saw earlier in this book. Now we get some minor NPCs and monsters. Zipping through quickly. So the companions, for the most part, from what I have seen up into this point, is that you'll get 2, maybe 3 rather substantial adventures in each of the companions, and then there's a bunch of adventure hooks and just small encounters and set pieces as well. So we've got some new pre-gens for the players. Got some maps. And that is the Power Behind the Throne Companion, which is also from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. So once again, both of these books are available right now. They just came out. So Keldon's popping in saying, stream title says it's the Alien book. Yes, that we know because there was a problem with the stream when it started and had to restart the stream. And YouTube always messes up the title when you got to restart the stream. So there you have it. We've got Power Behind the Throne and the Power Behind the Throne Companion. As I mentioned, I will have reviews of those in the very near future. Hopefully, maybe this weekend. I didn't really have an opportunity to shoot anything. I was up to a lot of stuff last week and over the weekend as well. All right. Of course, as I had mentioned, you can grab both those books from Cubicle 7 Entertainment, or you can get the PDFs over at Drive-Thru RPG. All right. On Wednesday's show, we're going to do a War Game Wednesday. I'm going to do an unboxing and first look at the Dark Summer Normandy 1944 from GMT Games. This is part of the Dark series. So this is the latest entry. We are going to take a peek at this on Wednesday's show. Wednesdays. Now I can't speak English. What's going on? It's that crazy little video thing going. It's throwing me off. All righty. So that is it for this time out. Of course, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the dispatch streams live right here on YouTube, it'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my upcoming review for the Alien role-playing game Colonial Marines Operations Guide, or manual, not guide, manual. It's like, man, that's just doesn't flow right off the tongue. Anyway, this is on its way, so stay tuned. All right, those of you who are watching live, thank you very much. Always appreciate you taking some time out to hang out and keep me company, rather than me just sitting here and blabbing on into the ether. But I do know a lot of you out there don't have an opportunity to watch live. So however you watch, even if you're watching on Memorex, thank you very much. Always do appreciate you taking time out to see what's going on here on the Dispatch. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest gaming news, reviews, a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. And until I see you next time, here's hoping all of you out there have an opportunity to enjoy some great gaming with your gang. Oh, you're still here. Well, while you're kicking it, how about subscribing to the Gaming Gang channel, or seeing the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, or finding out what YouTube recommends you check out here at my channel. And of course, don't forget, get your geek on at thegaminggang.com.